All right. I'm only 44 years old and only have a little bit of gray hair. So I'm not sure if I actually have the right to talk about this subject today. But I've experienced some things in my own life, and I've been able to work in some of my past jobs with people who are dealing with aging. And I have some thoughts to share today that, if you're a regular watcher of this channel, you know it's going to be a little bit counter to what we're usually told. So I should say up front that I've also been reading Ellen Langer, and she's a Harvard psychologist professor that has done some fascinating studies on aging and how our mindset has a profound effect on our physicality and our health. So I'm going to be including some of her thoughts and ideas in this today. Aging, if we're getting on in life a little bit, it's something that starts to really affect us. And I see people that get older, sometimes even taking pride in the failings of their body and mind, because we've developed a mythos in our culture that as you get older, it's inevitable that our body fails us, our memory goes, we basically just start falling apart. If you're in your teens and you're watching this, aging may seem a million miles away to you. Like, why do I even think about this? But I would bet that deep inside your mind, you too are thinking about it, because none of us is completely sheltered from seeing people that are aging. And when we see that, and we see people walking hunched over and using walkers and in really difficult places, it can be really frightening. Like, wow, that's what's waiting for me. And again, that's a message that we'll get from a lot of our elder generation, that this is inevitable. You might think it's great and you're never going to, if you're 18 and you're never going to be 60 or 70 or 80 years old, but it's going to happen and you're going to be in the same boat. Now, there's people like Ellen who are saying that this inevitability that we become decrepit with age is not as true as we've been led to believe. And she did a fascinating study. It's called the counterclockwise study. You can look it up online. Basically, she took some elderly gentlemen and she transported them back in time. In other words, she brought them to a location where, I believe for a week, they got to live surrounded by artifacts from 20 years earlier. And they almost role-played and pretended that they were 20 years younger. They only talked about things that were happening at that time. They listened to radio broadcasts and music from that time. And their world became that world of 20 years ago. And what happened? They did measurements. And what happened is they noticed that arthritis was better in these people after their time in the counterclockwise study. That their memory had improved, that their hearing had improved, even their vision improved. Here we have this example that in a short period of time, these people had a mindset change that had a profound effect on many of the markers that we look at when we think of aging. Arthritis, getting weaker, losing our vision, losing our memory. for myself, I have always taken pretty good care of myself. But last year, I noticed that my joints were kind of feeling achy. And my body wasn't feeling as strong. I didn't feel like I was healing as quickly. I didn't feel like I was recovering from soreness as quickly. And so what I did is I started taking gymnastics lessons. And now I can do a standing back flip and front handsprings and working on my round off to back handspring. To be able to do these things, to have my body do this, is remarkable in itself, because it's getting stronger and more agile than it's ever been. But I've also noticed that I feel incredible. My recovery time is faster. I feel like I heal more quickly, and my joints all feel awesome, loose and fluid and strong. I mentioned that I also have been able to work with people in the past of different age groups, including people that are getting older in life. And I've noticed over and over again that there seems to be an attitudinal difference. Of course, this is all anecdotal on my part, but when people have a positive mindset, when people have a caring attitude about their body, their health, they tend to just do a lot better. And we hear these stories about people that are 95 and running marathons, but we often think, oh, that's just good genes, it's luck of the draw. But Ellen's work suggests that it may actually also have something to do with our mindset. For myself, there's been something that I've used all along, and this is what's really kept me young, essentially. And, when I was 20, I was in really good shape, and people were saying, oh, when you're 30, you're going to be packing on the pounds. And when I turned 30, then people were saying, well, when you turn 40, you're going to be feeling that age and packing on the pounds. And as I said, I feel younger than ever. And I don't think I'm packing on the pounds. That feeling of youngness for me comes from two main things. The first is, I've talked about, it's a river that runs through all of my videos. And that's that there's a playfulness to life. And when we can start to take life less seriously and be more playful about it, we not only create a sense of well-being throughout our entire life, but paradoxically, we actually become more able to put our energies towards the serious things of our lives. Essentially because we're not using up a bunch of energy in being serious. Being serious creates a lot of worry and a lot of stress, which takes a lot of energy out of us. But here's the other little trick I use, and this inspires me to keep moving and eating healthy and fostering good relationships. If you look at the Blue Zone studies, another thing to check out, you'll start to see that there's some of these elements. And it's not just movement or exercise. It's not just diet, but it's having really good close relationships, having a tribe. It's having a sense of meaning or spirituality or purpose. There's a lot of factors that play into this. But for me, I think, okay, I'll just accept as a truth, whether it's true or not, that every year past 30, I'm going to lose a certain amount of muscle mass. What are some of the other things that we are supposed to lose as we get older? I'm going to lose some of my testosterone. I'm going to lose some of my brain cells. And I'm going to suffer these losses. And I think, okay, granted, let's say I'm going to lose 1% of what I've got every year. That can sound scary, and that's going to add up a lot in 10 years. There's going to be a 10% drop on a lot of these things, and I'm not going to be able to do those backflips by the time I'm 60, right? Here, though, even if I'm losing 1% a year, I have to ask myself, am I at my fullest potential right now? If I am a ultra genius, top level Olympiad athlete, then if I'm at my total top, perhaps then if I lose 1%, it's inevitable. If I'm at 100% and I'm going to lose 1%, I'm going to be at 99. But I think of myself and I think, oh, yeah, I'm in good shape. I take care of my mind. I eat really well. But I'm probably realistically at maybe 20% of my fullest physical potential. And probably 20% of my mental potential. And I eat really well, but I'm probably at 20, 30% of how well I could actually be eating. Same with movement and exercise. So let's say my baseline is 20%. That's how good I am right now. If I'm going to lose 1% next year, that'll bring me to 19. But what happens if this year I also start engaging my mind more, doing more meditation, begin learning a new language, start doing some things differently, because that novelty creates new openings, new engagement in our mind. What if I start some new movement paradigms, like the gymnastics I started next year? What if I do a little bit more research and tweak my diet and make it a little bit better, so that I bring myself from 20% up to 23% of my fullest potential? And then, if I lose 1% next year, I'm at 22 instead of 19. Okay? And of course, I made this into a little limited scale of 100, but if you make that organic, and you realize that if I lose a little bit every year, but I increase my training, my mind exploration, my diet every year, then if I continue that growth and evolution as a person, next year, I can be stronger, more agile, more intelligent, more quick thinking, have a better memory than I did last year. And in fact, when I start thinking like that, it gets me excited, because I think, I'm 44 now, what happens when I'm 50? Wow, that could be incredible. When I'm 50, I mean, I've got 6 years here to really make incredible improvements in myself. And 60? Wow, I can't even imagine where I'll be. And I convince myself that I'm going to be more physically, for instance, fit when I'm 60 than I am now. Maybe I'll make a video when I'm 60 and say, this was all a bunch of BS, and the truth is that 60 is really, really old. But I'll bet that when I'm 60, I can actually be in better physical fitness than I am right now. And this goes for all of us. If we don't settle for comfort, if we question entertainment and just sitting and watching, if we get excited about self-evolution, about strengthening our body, our minds, our emotional resilience, if we make that our goal and our adventure and our playfulness, then next year is going to be amazing. And the year after that, and the year after that. And it does not matter if you are 95 and you're watching this and every system is failing in your body. That doesn't mean that when you're 96, you couldn't be at a little bit better place than you are this year. And I've had the experience of being able to work with some people as a personal trainer who are really up there in age, and to see that a lot of people wrote them off because they're in their 80s and they're just, they're where they are and they're going to keep going downhill every year. Not true. We can keep moving uphill. At some point, we don't live forever, right? At some point, we're going to have a crash. And if you look at the blue zone people, they tend to have a nice curve like this, and then at the end of their lives, they go quickly. We've created a different paradigm where we go along and then we have downs, little ups and downs and little ups, and it goes like this as we slowly degrade over the years. Both of those are realities, and we can choose which one we want. Yes, genes will play a part, but don't underestimate the power of our mindset. If you're in your teens and you're watching this, you're in the perfect place to start. If you're 15, 16, 17, 18, and you start now with this attitude, whoa, where will you be when you're 20, when you're 30, when you're 40? Watch out, world. Thank you for watching this. I would love to hear your comments or your thoughts. If you have struggled with aging, what has worked for you? What hasn't worked for you? What's your opinion? Is it true that we just degrade over time? Or do you think there might be some truth to this thought that we have more control over this than we've been told? Check out Ellen Langer's counterclockwise study and any of her other work. It's really fascinating what she is beginning to teach us. She's been teaching us for a long time, but it's paradigm busting, so that stuff doesn't get the big headlines that more fitting within the paradigm type of studies do. Hers is, it's interesting stuff. Take a look, and you may be convinced that this can really affect this. Talk with you soon.